everyone. Today I will be working on air conditioning for my 2002 Hyundai Santa Fe. I have the 2.4 liter engine in this vehicle, and this is an automatic. The things I will be replacing today is I will be replacing this valve back here, the TXV valve, also referred to as the expansion valve. So there you have that there. It's held in by 2 bolts. Also, I will be replacing the condenser, which is this unit here, and then this is the dryer. You'll hear people talk about replacing the dryer as well. And then the next thing I'll be replacing is the compressor. I purchased a Denso brand new condenser or compressor, and I will be replacing all of those today. So the first thing you'll want to do when replacing these is you will need to take your vehicle to a certified shop. That way they can properly evacuate the Freon from the AC system. Once you have done that, which I have already done, before starting any work on this, you'll want to disconnect your battery. When replacing a compressor that has gone out, they refer to it as being blown up. It is good to replace your condenser, and replacing the valve over there is also good. Reason being is if your condenser is clogged or if it has debris in it from a bad compressor, you will want to replace the condenser. And if your dryer is not part of the condenser, you also want to replace your AC dryer, because all the debris from your blown up compressor will end up in those 2 components, and then that debris will cycle back into the AC system, causing your brand new compressor to fail. So I'm going to go ahead and replace them. You should be able to purchase all the parts offline for doing this kind of job on this specific vehicle. I have been able to purchase everything for under $500, and yeah, so I will take you step by step on how to replace each specific item. And the only thing I will not be showing you is how to recharge the system. I recommend taking the system to a shop, having it evacuated all the way, and then having it charged up to your manufacturer's specifications. So hopefully this helps. Please stay tuned for more videos, and if you are looking for other AC videos for this specific vehicle, just check out my YouTube channel, and I will separate the videos in case somebody doesn't want to know how to replace the compressor and just wants to know how to replace the condenser. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the battery. Get that out of the way here. And then this is not completely necessary, but I am going to remove this plenum. I'm doing all of this with a 10 millimeter. And then instead of removing each screw one at a time, just lift straight up. Alright, so on how to remove the power steering and the AC belt from this vehicle, it's a little tricky to get to. If you look at the power steering pump right here, there's a pulley underneath the power steering pulley on this side. It has a 14 millimeter nut on it. It's about 3 inches in diameter maybe. The pulley down there is. You'll want to loosen the nut on the front side of that. Once that nut is loosened, you'll come down here to the bottom of the power steering pump, and this is a 14 millimeter right here. My finger's on it. You'll want to turn that to the left. Alright, so now after removing the belt and disconnecting the power, you'll come down here and loosen this nut. It's a 10 millimeter, and then also this nut right here. It's a 10 millimeter. Always make sure you're wearing safety glasses when working with refrigerant. You do not want it getting in your eyes. So go ahead and remove both those nuts, and then we will move on to removing the 4 mounting bolts. Alright, so here at the bottom of the compressor you have your two 12mm bolts. I'm going to break both these loose and only remove one of them, and this will be the last bolt I remove right here, because I'm going to remove it and then let the compressor drop all the way down. That way it's not just gonna fall when I remove the top bolts. So now I have all of the bolts, and I have the refrigerant lines disconnected up top and secured away safely. So now I'm going to push this hose here out of the way, and I'm going to see if I could slowly wiggle this down. This bolt is still threaded just a tiny bit, so all I have to do is loosen up that bolt and we'll go from there. So the compressor came out very easily. Once I loosened this bolt, I pushed the nose of the compressor toward the passenger side and then slowly wiggled it down. As you push the nose over, you also have to make sure you push this hose over. That way the pulley doesn't catch on it. But it came out very easily. Took me maybe 30 seconds max. Alright, so I have my compressor removed and just inspecting it and everything. So it was not rotating, and it started growling pretty well. The clutch wasn't engaging. Pulley obviously was still spinning, but the clutch wasn't engaging, and it started to make a growling noise. So then I decided I had to do something about it. But here you go. I mean, that's pretty that's pretty bad, but it was embarrassing to start up and hear that growling. Here's how it's supposed to sound. Yeah, so there's supposed to be no sound. But this is a Denso. It's a high quality compressor. Not the exact OEM, but it will definitely be sufficient enough for me. So now we will prep it. Alright, so here's just an example of draining the compressor. Alright, so I have drained the fluid from my compressor, and I have rotated the clutch. You wanna set it on end and rotate the clutch, which is on the bottom side here, to release any of the oil that may be caught up or bound in it. So I have just over 5 ounces, which is 150 cc of fluid. So it was almost spot on in the compressor. That's what they said was in the compressor. So it was very accurate. So now I'm going to go ahead and set it up like this for about 10 minutes to let oil run through, and then I will go ahead and reinstall this compressor. So when reinstalling it, I would suggest putting the bolts on the bottom side of your compressor in. When you try to pull the compressor out, I left the bolts in it because there wasn't enough space to pull the bolt all the way out this way. So make sure you put your bolts in before you try to position it in place, and just reinstall it in reverse order. Make sure that when you start each bolt that you just start it by hand, to make sure you don't cross thread anything or cause it. Alright, so before trying to reinstall this, make sure you put your covers back over where the refrigerant lines connect. I'm going to show you, I have not tried this yet, so I'm going to show you my struggle in case this is a pain in the ass. So making sure everything's out of my way, and I'm going to try to install this in the reverse order. So I'm going to stick the nose of the compressor up. I do have my bolts in place. I have to mess around with them just a little bit. And that was way easier than I anticipated, by the way. And then make sure you get, alright, so I have a bolt started in the threads. Alright everyone, so I have my compressor installed. It is not yet torqued down. These bolts, the 4 mounting bolts, are supposed to be torqued down between 14 and 18 foot-pounds of torque. And then you have these 2 bolts for your high and low pressure side. They get torqued down at least 3.7 to 5.2 foot-pounds of torque. So there you have it. I hope that helps. Alright, there you have it. I have my new AC compressor installed. Everything's torqued down and my electrical is connected. I also have reinstalled my belt and tightened it down in the reverse order that I showed you earlier. If you are not doing anything else, then now would be the time to reconnect the battery and take the vehicle to a shop and have it put on a vacuum test, and then they can charge it up per manufacturer specifications. In my case, I am not done, so I'm not going to reconnect the battery. Now I am going to move on to replacing my condenser.